Hello everybody. Oh dear, I've been checking my videos and I think some of the very early ones have been a bit neglected, and they're pretty good, some of those, because they're my beginning stories. I had lots of those. So I'm going to resurrect some of them actually, because I feel some of the stories could be repeated, and I'm sure because they're about 18 months old nobody will remember them anyway. So this story is about manifestation. I'm quite surprised at how not it's not easy, but it can be done. And this is going back about, gosh, 15, 20 years ago now, when the word first came into being, manifest, manifest. And I have always had a challenge with it. I can seem to manifest things, but I can't seem to manifest money. Although that has been done as well. So this particular story is one of my favourites. Remember the last video when I said about bringing in the memories to cheer ourselves up? Well, this is very happy memories that I've got, and it came to me this morning thinking, gosh, that was a really nice evening, and I did manifest it, quite incredibly so. I was not living here, somewhere else, and there's a play at the local theatre. I really wanted to go. I love theatre, and I really wanted to go and see this play. I think it's by Michael Palin actually, and I think because it was a famous play, I just had to go. Well, of course, tickets were sold out, so I was very frustrated, and I thought to myself, I'm going to go. I'm going to go and see this play. So I dressed myself up and set off, and got to the theatre. And as soon as I got to the foyer, the lady there, she said, we've got 2 tickets, does anybody want them? See, can be done. It can be done. I was amazed actually that they were not only available but free. So of course I had one of them, and the play was an absolute success. It really was a jam-packed, a lovely, lovely evening. And during the interval, well, a very nice man sat next to me actually. That was a bit of a bonus. And it turned out he was the director, or the wife of the husband of the wife. He was the director of the play, and so we had a wonderful time. I mean, talk about flirt. I really enjoyed it. It was just one of those beautiful evenings that you can never forget. And we stood together in the reception, the interval, and then chatted away about this and that. He was quite conscious and knew lots of stuff. And his wife came over to us and she said, "Why don't you two have a party?" Well, I would have been jealous, to be honest. So, I mean, I was in my flirtatious best. So it was just a wonderful evening, and I think that was because somewhere in me, the willpower, which I think we have to use to manifest. It's no just saying, I want this or I will have this. It's a tremendous amount of power you have to use to overcome all the doubts and things that come up. It's no good saying, I want this if. You have to say, I am going to have this. And I think we have to start off with small things. It's no good me trying to manifest £1,000, although I have manifest money before now, when I was really, really hard up. Well, I'm hard up most of the time, but really I was not long left my husband and I hadn't got a penny, and I was on social trying to pay the rent, and it was a nightmare, absolute living from day to day. That I just had to, it was a real struggle to keep my car on the road. And it was one particular week that I was well, there was nothing in the bank, and it was that difficult. I had nothing for the food or anything, and I was just about managing on credit, and that was taken away when I went bankrupt. That's another story. So I just said, I've got to have money. I've got to have money to pay my food bill. It's not like a luxury. I want a new jumper, yes, but the food bill's more important. And I just said, well, it'll come. It'll come. And actually, it did. 2 or 3 days later, I had a refund from the electricity. I'd overpaid, and I had a refund. I think about 100 quid or so. So it just saved my day. And I thought, I don't know why I don't do it more often. It does take a lot of energy and a lot of commitment, and you have to be very, very sure, because obviously you can sometimes manifest things you don't want. I've done that too, thinking you want something and you don't really when it comes. So those 2 stories were really quite successful, and there's also a third one, which is it wasn't manifesting something, it was manifesting an outcome, which you can do, as long as I suppose it doesn't involve people. There are some rules, I suppose, yeah, and I suppose if it's really not the right thing, according to your higher self, it either will be stopped or it won't happen, or this is the difficulty, getting the balance right somewhere, knowing really, really, really what you want and then going for it. And I think you do have to put a proviso and thy will be done sort of thing, because it might not be, it might not be appropriate or whatever, but I think generally we're mostly in tune with what you want. So this was a story about manifesting time or a delay of the train. I travelled up from Bristol. I've been to see my daughter, and I had to change trains. Well, you know what a nightmare that is. They're often not on time, or you miss one or whatever. And I think I had to make 3 changes, and the third one I was just aware that I was running out of time. I live in quite a remote area, and the train I was going to get in Lincoln was a little tiny shuttle thing that took me up to my local town or village town. I was just aware I wasn't going to make it, and I wouldn't have been able to get home from the big city. There were no buses, no trains. I didn't know what I was going to do. It was a kind of panic, but also, please God, will you delay the train? Delay the train. Oh, please delay the train. That was the prayers that went out, the affirmations or whatever. And I got to Lincoln and ran all the way I could run in those days to the station, and it was still in. Just about to leave, on these little electric shuttle trains. And I got on and puffed away, and I got, as I always do, talking to the woman next to me. I said, this train's a bit late. She said it was held up. She said, we don't know what happened. We were all asked to get off. And we had to change trains. So it was 1/4 late. Now that's a miracle, but it's also a manifestation, because I was determined, absolutely determined, with the help of my angels and guides and whatever, to hold that train up. Now that takes a bit of doing, doesn't it? It does take a bit of doing. I'm going to check the time. I think it's about 6 minutes. Yes, 7 minutes. I all sort of stop about 7 halfway. So manifesting, I don't know, there were so many rules on this. I've got some very good books called Conversations with God, and God says in this, through this person, affirmations and so forth are all very well as long as you get the sponsoring thought right, the sponsoring thought behind all other thoughts, because I do believe that. I don't necessarily believe in affirmations. You can say what you like, but unless the belief system behind that is sorted out, nothing will happen. It's a very complex process, but you have to get to the very root problem, why this particular thing is not happening. And it's no good saying, like an affirming, I'm going to have loads of money next week. You may not have to have loads of money next week. You may be learning not to have money next week. Do you see what I mean? You have to go deeper and deeper and deeper before you start making these positive affirmations. I think they're lies. I think to say something's going to happen when you know very well it's not, because you're perhaps not ready for it. There's all sorts of reasons, but you can affirm all you like, but you get disappointed when it doesn't happen, because the affirmations interfered with something else, and you're saying this will happen, that won't happen, this will happen. You have to get beyond that to find out whether you really believe it will. And then you can start using your willpower to manifest. So it is a bit of a process, and of course some of us are better at it than others. But this is we're almost now into the 5th dimension, what I know I am, and a lot of us are heading for it, and some of us they're already different stages of development. But the 5th dimension definitely is tricky. It's tricky. I haven't yet enjoyed it. Perhaps it's early days. They do say you have more joy and fun, and you can manifest what you want, and maybe I'm getting there, I don't know. But it's a sort of, the 5th dimension is one where whatever you think will manifest, and I have noticed that. You have to be very careful what you think, because it will appear. I mean, that last video I was talking about afternoon tea, and a day later there was a thing on television about afternoon tea. So when you start noticing synchronicities, you know you're on the right path, but you have to be very, very careful what you think about. I mean, you might think, like when I was really ill, I was worried about getting food, and I couldn't go shopping. I hadn't got the energy. So I would occasionally creep out of my car to a local shop, and I would say, there will be a loaf of bread on that shelf for me, and there always was, because that was necessity, and I knew that I had to use all my willpower to achieve what I wanted to survive, really, you know. So it's quite a complex mixed bag of things, but we have to know it can be done. This is why I'm telling a stories. That theatre night was magical. It was one of the best evenings I think I've ever had, because everything was just right and more. You know, that's the thing. You do get more than you want sometimes. So it's being sure. I think the rule is being absolutely sure what you want, and also I think it's almost like somehow saying it might not be, which is a bit of a contradiction, really, isn't it? Depends how determined you are, and how important it is, I guess. I don't know. It's trial and error. I think you do get better at it the more you practice. So that's my little speech for today. I'm keeping it short because this last full moon absolutely knocked me out. I won't go into its stories, but I think the processing is getting deeper and deeper, and it is getting pretty powerful. It really is, for me anyway. And it's very hard to sort of rise above it. I mean, I'm in bed most of the day, you know. At the minute I'm recovering, I thought, should I do a video? I thought, well, no, it is good for me to do a video because the energy starts to move a bit, you know. So, but not to go on too long, you'll be pleased. Anyway, dear ones, on that note, I should resurrect some more of my older videos because some of the stories are really quite good. I don't think you've seen all of them. Anyway, take care. Keep manifesting, but keep being sure of what you want, because you will get it. God bless for now then. Take care. Bye bye.